Yeah. Hey, Amna, you like my little hexagon design?
I love it. Looks awesome.
Okay. Is Zane gonna let us? All right, it looks like we're live. All righty. Okay, let's go ahead and get started in just a few minutes. You guys ready for this?
Yeah, bismillah.
Okay. I'm gonna give Zan a minute to share the, I'm gonna give him a minute to share the link with whoever he needs to, and we will start. Awesome. Okay. So it looks like our link has been shared. We'll go ahead and get started. All right, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sabina Muhammad. I am your panelist for today. So today, our webinar, We're So Bored, is a part of a series of programs being done by Minaret Foundation. Minaret Foundation is an organization whose mission is to increase interfaith civic engagement activities of the Muslim community. The vision is to see every Muslim engaged in faith and civic society alongside our community partners as the norm. So we'll go ahead and get started. We have some exciting panelists for you guys here today. We are joined by Faizan Majid, who's the director of Houston Leadership Academy, Zain Khan, who is the director of MIST Houston and programs coordinator for Minaret Foundation, and Amina Ishaq, social worker at Anissa Hope Center and Minaret Foundation advisory board member. All right, so excited to have you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started with just a brief intro on yourself, what kind of civic and community engagement and faith engagement that you do within the community. So let's start with Amina.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Amina Ishaq. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the abundantly merciful, the continually merciful. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. My name is Amina. As she mentioned, I do work at Anissa Hope Center. I'm a licensed master social worker and therapist with them. We do a lot of great work in the community. We're out there trying to help as many people as we can right now. And faith-wise, I was a part of like interfaith work. I am a part of Minaret Foundation. I'm on the advisory board for that, and I've been doing a lot of work with Sharik for the past couple of years. And he was my go-to when I was the interfaith lead at Mariam Islamic Center. And now that I've stepped down from that, I'm trying to focus more on Minaret Foundation and Anissa. And Sharik has been an amazing interfaith go-to mentor for me, and I know for a lot of people in this community, alhamdulillah. And I love the work that he's doing with the Minaret Foundation. I'm so blessed to be a part of Minaret and Anissa Hope Center. We collaborate on a lot of work together, Anissa and Minaret do, and Minaret tries to collaborate with as many organizations, nonprofit organizations, as they can, and that's what I love about Minaret. We try to keep the community together. We try to keep us united, and that united front is what's so important, especially at this time right now during this pandemic. And interfaith work has been very dear to my heart for the past several years. I was the lead at Mariam Islamic Center, and I just try to do as much as I can in the school districts. My kids go to Lamar Consolidated ISD. It's part of Fort Bend County. I'm a part of the DA's transition committee for juvenile justice and the community engagement group. I'm on the board for that. And we just do a lot of work with our community. We're working on hate crimes reform and just hate crime incident reporting. And that's what Minaret does as well. And there's just so much going on. And I will definitely talk more about Anissa and some of the things that we can do sitting from our couch, because I know we are so bored right now. And there's so many things out there that we can be doing. So I'm going to hand it back to Sabina so we can get on with this.
Awesome. There are so many things that we can talk about today just from what you gave us, but I'm really excited to hear about all that. we'll go ahead and move for an intro for our next panelist, Faizan Majid. If you could go ahead and give us a brief intro on yourself and what you do in the community.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Faizan. I am a teacher currently at Iman Academy, and I teach science for middle and high school. So my main thing for the community is, or that I'm involved in with the community, is something called Houston Leadership Academy, which is it's a academy on the side that we sort of select high school and young or early college students and teach them a little bit more about Islam and give them sort of an Islamic learning and at the same time we develop their leadership skills to help them give back to the community. So our focus is to train the next leaders that are going to come up in the community. And we've had lots of great kids come from this program. I was a graduate of this program, and now, alhamdulillah, I'm a director. I took over after Sharik stepped back for Minaret Foundation, mashallah. And we've had lots of students come from the program that went on and did national programs, alhamdulillah. I'm involved in that. I'm also involved as an organizer for Texas Dawah Convention, and I'm also currently doing my master's in counseling, which hopefully the goal is to use that master's in counseling, because I know there's a lack of Muslim male counselors, and I feel like young people need a Muslim male counselor, and that's my hope, inshallah, in the future, to give back to the community in that way as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Can I just jump in and just Faizan, that is so true. We do need male counselors, please. We need them. We need them so badly. As a counselor myself, I'm so excited.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
I mean, all right. Zain, last but not least. Zain, you're on mute. If you could unmute yourself.
Sorry. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zain Khan. So I'm the current director for Miss Houston this year. Miss is an organization that caters to all high school students that have an MSA in their high school. But it's a great opportunity for kids to engage in their passion by competing against another high school and many high schools across Houston. I don't have much of a community engagement the way Faizan and Amna do, mashallah. And I'm so glad that Faizan's going towards counseling, because he's been a personal mentor of mine. Amna has been a counselor of mine. They're both fantastic people. And I'm blessed to be working officially as Minaret Foundation's program coordinator.
Great to hear from all of you guys. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to chat about was what people can do, although we're all stuck at home and we're trying to do our part to keep everyone safe. How has your work shifted personally? All the activities that you've been doing, I assume, have not halted and come to a complete stop, but how have they kind of changed the way you operate? And what have you done to adjust to that new lifestyle? So we can go back in the same order, whichever you guys want. We'll start with Amna and then we can go from there.
So assalamu alaikum again. So Zain, he was very humble. He does a lot in this community. The youth love him. And he is an amazing volunteer at Maryam Islamic Center. Since he was going to say that himself, I'm going to jump in and say great things about him. So he does amazing work, alhamdulillah. He's always there. So back to your question, Sabina. So with An-Nisa Hope Center, I was a therapist there, and now we're doing a lot of telecounseling with the clients that we had previously. We are doing that online, with Zoom, and then An-Nisa as a whole organization has shifted. We are working. Actually, we're working very hard right now, even if our office isn't open right now. There's so many programs that are going on right now that we have implemented in the community. And I know that we're supposed to focus on things for youth that are sitting at home, they're bored, but I'm going to focus on a few things that we are doing. We're doing a Ramadan food drive right now, which we're going to be working on tomorrow. And if you want to volunteer, you're more than welcome to come with your masks and your gloves and social distancing and all that stuff. But we need your help. That's not from your couch, but that's one thing that we are doing. But I'm going to talk to you more about things that we have been doing from the comfort of our home, because I know a lot of people don't want to go out, and we don't want it. We don't want anybody to put themselves at risk. So from the comfort of our homes, Anissa has implemented an educational assistance program, which you can sign up to be a tutor and get training this weekend, inshallah. So we are helping refugee children with the online learning platform, because now we all know that up until this whole year, up until May, there's no school, right? So it's going to be all changed to a learning platform online. And we've provided laptops for the children that need it, for the refugee children or any low income families that don't have a laptop or internet access. And we're providing these volunteers from the comfort of their home. They can help these children navigate through that online school platform. And we have educational professionals that work with us at Anissa that are volunteers, and they're going to be helping them. And there's going to be a training this weekend if you want to. If you're an older high school student and you want to sit there from your couch and just help somebody, they'll pair you up with a student that needs help, and we'll also pair you up with their teachers from their public schools, so you can have direct contact with them and find out what they're doing. So these are things that this is one program that we have implemented, and the training is going to be this weekend. And it's an amazing program that you can do from the comfort of your home. And then we also have the elderly well-being circle. There's so many things we're doing. I could go on and on, but I'm going to just mention one or two. So the elderly well-being program is where we're going to be pairing up 3 volunteers to 1 adult, elderly adults, to just check up on them. We're getting information from ISGH. We're getting information from different organizations. We're going to be supporting over 2,000 elderly individuals in this community, in the Muslim community, where you can call. We're going to pair 3 volunteers up with 1 elderly individual, and you call them just on a weekly basis, check up on them, talk to them. It'll kind of be like a virtual family. It's amazing. Until they've already started it. We already have 60 volunteers. If you want to sign up for that, I know Shark, with us at Minaret Foundation, will put out a list of resources for you to reach out to us. And these elderly individuals, some of them are couples. They're at home. They're social distancing from their families, and they just want to talk to someone. And that's a great way to build that rapport with our elderly and do something for the community and get your community service hours. I'm sure there's a way we can get you those community service hours too. And then there's other things I could talk about, but I'm going to give it back to you, Sabita, so then I can mention something else later. Okay. But that's how Anissa is working right now. And there's so many other programs that we could talk about, but I'm just going to leave it at those 2 for right now.
Yeah. One question I did have was, so I know you mentioned that there's the tutoring for, can you elaborate a little bit? Is it all ages? Is it just middle school, just high school, just elementary? Are you like what age?
Well, we have a wide variety of like age levels. So that's what the training will go over this weekend. There may be high schoolers, there may be middle schoolers. Most of them will probably be elementary schoolers. And I mean, if you we'll put out the information. There's a Google Doc form you can fill out to be a volunteer. And the training is this weekend, inshallah. So we can figure out how we'll pair you up with somebody that you feel the most comfortable with.
Okay, awesome. And the training is virtual as well?
Yes, I believe so. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe so.
Well, look at that. You don't even have to have any background in tutoring or anything. We'll get trained up.
Yes, but we do prefer that you do, like, if we're going to be putting you with somebody, so we do prefer that you know the subject, and we'll figure that out. But mostly this is for older high school students that can be paired up with somebody that's younger.
Awesome. Okay, great. Those are some really exciting things. And I think one of the other things that is new is, how long has the elderly well-being program been in place?
So we started this, we started with the elderly assistance program, where we called up a lot of our clients and all the caseworkers. We hit the ground running from day one from this pandemic, when things start, like in March. And that's what we started off with. It was the elderly assistance program, where we were getting groceries for these elderly couples or elderly people. And we would take it to their, we would get the food from, we were collaborating with ICNA Food Pantry and ISGH. We would get the packets. All our volunteers would go deliver it to them. First, we started off with that, but then we had to expand it, because there's so many families that are losing jobs right now. Unemployment is at a rise, right? But then we thought about it. Some of our caseworkers, our director came up with this idea. Our community liaison came up with this idea about just all of us put our heads together and we came up with the elderly well-being circle, which we're just checking up on the elderly. And it doesn't have to be somebody necessarily that's low income or in need of groceries or anything like that, just anybody, just our elderly. We're looking out for our elderly at this time because a lot of times they're socially isolated right now, and it can lead to so many, a lot of them are already suffering from mental health issues, right? So this is just something where we want to reach out and show love to our community, show love to our elders, because in our deen, in our religion, it teaches us this. And we are implementing this through our program. And this is why it's so important. We do want high schoolers to do this, because it's so important for us to build that bond between the youth and the elderly, because those are, it's very important.
Yes, they are. They're absolutely absolutely really important. And I think this is it's a cool way to a weekly check-in is not a huge amount of commitment, and you're doing it with 3 other people. So it's a cool way to not just even have a one-on-one interaction, but almost like you said, a virtual family, and that's unique. I liked hearing about that, because it's something that kind of gives. You can kind of tag team to see, okay, let's get a couple of my friends, and you guys can alternate in terms of maybe even making a plan for what you guys will chat with them about, or anything like that. If they're tech savvy, maybe play an online game with them. Whatever their sort of interests are, you can cater to that. That's really cool. Okay. So Faizan, maybe we can go to you next so you can tell us a little bit about what the Houston Leadership Program, Houston Leadership Academy, is doing virtually. And Amna and Zain, if you guys have any questions, this is meant to be a discussion, so feel free to jump in. And it's not meant to be like an interview. So if you guys want to share, chime in, anything like that, feel free. It's meant to be an open discussion. So yeah, Zain, if you want to just kind of chat a little bit about how you guys have adapted to functioning virtually, and what kinds of things, if you want to elaborate on volunteer opportunities, and anything like that, that'd be great.
Zain, you want to take this first?
Okay, so for regarding MIST in general, and like what kind of the mentality that I've kind of heard from different kinds of youth all around is it's true boredom. These students that went from a set schedule of 7:30 to 2:30, every single day, 5 days a week, it kind of just broke off. And from seeing friends and doing clubs and being a part of organizations or sports, it kind of was taken away. And the biggest lesson to take away from this is that now all these students have so much of time to prepare for whatever they were going to prepare for, whether it's an event, whether it's preparing their resume to apply for a job. The mixed emotions and mentality is just we're all in awe about what's happening with the COVID-19 and when the city is going to open up. And I think the biggest factor about all of this is that students wanting to do something, wanting to be empowered and make a difference in their community, but the biggest focus comes back to their parents and their own child's safety. What if my child, does go out and is a part of this food distribution, or my child takes part in, Houston Food Bank, or any sort of initiative that's happening with all these organizations? It's their safety. So Amna, I kind of wanted to ask you this question when you were talking about all these amazing things that Anissa is doing. I know that there's so many different youth that do want to make a difference and do want to make a change, but how is Anissa ensuring the safety of their own volunteers, but also, how are they managing, with staying up to day with the news? Like today, Governor Abbott just went on and, discussed a reopening of the entire state. If you can answer in that.
Oh, definitely. So Anissa is providing, like, we at the ICNA food pantry, most of the that's the only thing that we're doing that's actually you have to go to. And that is also where it's a drive-through. Every volunteer is provided with an N95 mask and gloves. and they we're not having any contact with the individual that we deliver to. They put the ICNUB, the volunteers that work at ICNUB, they put the food boxes in the trunk of your car. You do not have to get in. These are our volunteers, and the volunteers deliver, so they're not really having close up contact. And they put it in the trunk, and then you deliver it to the address that was given to you, and you don't have to, you just text the individual, say that I'm here, you call them, let them know, you leave it at their door. And you're not having direct contact with these individuals. So yes, you are going to be out in your car, but this is not something that I would recommend for the youth right now. These are, most of our volunteers are older, they're in their middle, like in mid 30s, 40s, and these are people that can actually that they can make their own decision to go out. They're not having to ask their parents, right? So I would not recommend that. That's why I had mentioned the educational assistance program and the elderly well-being. But the way Anissa is trying to do this is we are providing the face masks, we are providing gloves, and we have we have strict set of rules for all of our volunteers of no contact with the individuals that are getting the food packages. So we are trying to put these in effect, and inshallah everybody's following those rules, but we have to make sure that our most vulnerable are being fed. They do have food for Ramadan, and alhamdulillah, it is a little higher risk, but we're trying to make sure that it's not too bad, but we have to make sure that everybody has the food that they need. And that's why the Ramadan food drive is so important, because a lot of these families depend on the mosques or the masjids for their iftar. So we've been doing this Ramadan food drive for almost 10 years, or for the past 7 or 8 years, and we can't stop now. We really can't. Anissa is all about uplifting and empowering the community, helping, and all of our volunteers, everybody that works with Anissa chooses to work there, chooses to do this. And if they're putting themselves at the risk, they're doing it in the, they're tying their camel, they're doing as much as they can, but they are doing it for the sake of Allah. And that is the most important thing. But I totally understand. I will not encourage the youth to do that. Ask your parents. That's why we want you to do the things that you can do from the comfort of your home. And there's like some of the things that I had mentioned. And there's one more thing that I wanted another volunteer opportunity that I can mention, but I'm going to give it back to y'all, and I'll mention that a little later.
The biggest thing I just want to come back to is like, again, the youth feeling like, what can we do from the comfort of our homes besides scrolling on TikTok left and right every single day and just engaging in social media, staying on Netflix. I think the biggest thing, like you said, Amna, is of course we want to make sure that they're safe even while they're volunteering. So something that MIST decided to do is to go ahead and encourage, while these kids are on their phone, on their laptops, the main people on ground zero that are fighting COVID-19 are healthcare professionals. There are all these first responders, police officers, medical health professionals. What we are encouraging them to do, and so far we have about 16 to 17, but we hope to get more, is just send a quick 20-second video of you appreciating as a community member, hey, thank you, Houston Methodist Hospital, for staying open at this time and making sure that your staff is there in case that my family member or my friend, gets diagnosed with coronavirus. That's just the best thing we can do, encouraging our youth, is just send letters or videos of appreciation. And letters, I mean by digital notes, of course, but that's all the youth can really do at this point. But of course, with more information and with more restrictions being eased, I think it'll give everybody an opportunity to start going back and volunteering like we normally do, because I know that a huge section of all these kids, I know one particular youth, I was having a conversation with him, and he was mentioning that this is a blessing in disguise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, what if this is our opportunity to repent for our sins, and yet we're still wasting our time doing nothing but sitting on our laptops, sitting on our phones, talking to friends, not social distancing. We're doing everything opposite the time that we've been granted. And that was something really amazing for me to hear that from an 18-year-old kid, because majority of his demographic is doing nothing but trying to kill time until all these restrictions are lifted. Some of the other things that I heard that some of these youth are doing is, making sure that they're staying up to date with the COVID-19 news. They're checking in with their families and friends. they started taking upon meditation, believe it or not, adjusting to social habits, helping their parents clean home. There's so many different activities we can do while we are in quarantine, but the things and activities that we're doing, are they essentially benefiting our deen, our iman? And that was our biggest thing, is like, what can we do to make it so easy for these students to make an impact, but also be rewarded for their good deed? I'm gonna give it back to you, Sabina.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing those thoughts. I think some of that perspective is universal, and some of that perspective is specific to certain demographics. And so I think finding that balance of, okay, how do I deal with the news overflow and, you know, the hyperstimulation constantly by being on your phone and laptop all the time, and balancing that with staying productive and, you know, seeking out opportunities. And, you know, when you're dealing with information overload, sometimes it's even overwhelming to find opportunities to be involved in online. So, which is what we're doing here today, right? Bringing the information to everybody from a variety of different sources. So yeah, I think the programs that Amna mentioned are interesting for new volunteers to look into. And like your friend mentioned, Zain, this may be an opportunity that you're not going to get again. And this is Allah's way of showing us, like, hey, there's more to life than just brunching and whatever, right? So, which,
You know
don't get
the
me wrong,
biggest,
love
I'm
my fair share of brunches, and my fair share of Netflix binging, my fair share of Instagram exploring, but there's cool ways to get involved outside of those things in our new age. One of the things that you know, on the note of one of the questions I had is, do you know, Zain, of any initiative to compile some of these videos for healthcare professionals and police officers that people are putting together, or is it kind of something that everyone's doing individually? Is that something even a volunteer could even say, hey, like, grab their 5 or 10 friends, if there is an initiative to let's just put this video.
What we're doing is getting pretty much, the way we started off is that we asked all of our, we call them student ambassadors. They're basically the presidents of each of their MSAs. So we have about 45 high school students, 45 high schools that attend MISS, and 45 of those presidents, we encourage them to go ahead and send us videos of appreciation. And it'll kind of work as a trickle effect, because in that way, they can encourage their members within their MSA to go ahead and send it. So it becomes a big movement and becomes something we can incorporate into a video montage. This is something that we want to send out to all the healthcare professionals and the hospitals and the medical center by next week. Because again, this is something so simple, something so easy. Who knows how many different doors it might open up for other people to be empowered to do something else, right? Again, it's about the fact that we're doing something in the comforts of our home and something differently at the end of the day.
So we can probably share all these details with that we're talking about after the program, right? How to get your video,
Yes.
how to sign up to volunteer through Anissa. Awesome. Okay, these are really cool things. I didn't even know were happening. So I'm looking forward to seeing that video montage. Okay, Faizan, last but not least, you want to chime in, give us a little bit of information on what you guys are doing, maybe even share some challenges that you had, you or your organization had in changing into this virtual world, and maybe what kind of solutions were you exploring, and how have you ever overcome those challenges to operate in a digital world?
So it's really hard to follow Zain and Amna, mashallah. You guys are doing so much with
It's
Houston
not a
Leadership.
competition.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, mashallah. What I was going to say is that Houston Leadership Academy sort of operates on a semester by semester basis. And it's also an extracurricular activity outside of high school. Outside of high school and college. So we sort of had to suspend this semester. We were in the middle of our semester, and we had a couple more weeks left till the end of the semester. And we had to suspend it until hopefully fall, because we have spring and fall semesters. But that being said, it's kind of hard to shift something that's sort of extracurricular back to a virtual thing just because we suspended it. And it's come, I mean, everyone's had their challenges, and it's difficult. But the one thing that I've been trying to do, and I've been trying to encourage those around me to do as well, including from Houston Leadership Academy, is that we need to realize that each of us has sort of our own circle of influence, right? Each of us has a group of people that we can talk to, a group of people that are close to us, and a group of people that we can reach out to. So I've been sort of encouraging the students and myself as well, just trying to reach out to them, see how they're doing. I mean, that's a big thing, because even from my own experiences with counseling, it's one thing to go push that bound and go to a counselor, right? There's still a stigma there, unfortunately, in our society to go to a counselor. But if a friend reaches out to you and says, hey, how's it going? Are you okay? Do you need anything? Even going to the point where some of the people have like reached out with Uber Eats for people that are social distancing, and just sending an Uber Eats a meal, right? That's such an uplifting thing to do. And it's nice to get free food. I mean, who doesn't like free food? So it's small things like that, just checking up on each other and making sure everyone's okay. If someone does have coronavirus, I had coronavirus in my own family. My brother's actually working in New York, and he's working in the hospitals, and he caught it. But people reached out to me. I reached out to others, and it's just keeping that checkup on each other going, and making sure that we're all doing okay, because it's hard with social distancing, but text messages are easy, and just reaching out and saying, hey, do you need anything from me? If you need a grocery run, and that I've had people do that as well, where if someone needs groceries but they can't go because they're social distancing, then they just go grab groceries and drop them off to their front door. So small things like that, it's sort of changed the way we do things.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Faizan. Like, I think some of that stuff is so difficult to navigate. You know, how do we build out this infrastructure? But your circle of influence is so important. And I've learned that it's not a good idea to underestimate what you can do even within your own circle. And some great ideas there. Sending Uber Eats to your friends who may not have had a good day, or everybody's struggling, reaching out, just saying, hey, how are you doing? How are you dealing with all this? Everybody's living in a different sort of environment today, where circumstances are different and dealing with challenges. And sometimes you don't even realize that circumstances are weighing heavily on you until someone asks you, like, hey, how are you doing? And you're like, I didn't even think about asking myself that question. And now that you're asking me, I'm actually thinking about it more. So having somebody to talk to is just forming that bond with people that you know. One text, like you said, goes a long way. Grocery runs. I noticed on Nextdoor, the app where you get with your neighbors, they have a little thing enabled where you can check to see if you can ask for help, and then you can go and provide help for people that need grocery runs or whatever. Maybe they need their medication picked up and they can't drive or something like that. So small things like that go a long way.
I'm so glad. I'm sorry. I'm so glad that Brother Faizan mentioned that, because like just with me 2 weeks ago, this is a personal story, but a friend of mine just dropped off cookies at my door. I'm telling everybody, because it just uplifted my day, and it was amazing. And just that small act of kindness, and it was just an amazing thing to do. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
I live in an apartment complex, and alhamdulillah, I'm blessed to have like a couple of Muslim neighbors. And one thing that's happened is that the people that are close to us, like someone makes a dish and then we share it with each other, and then we make a dish and we share it with each other. And that's just something small you can do. Like, we have a lot of time on our hands nowadays, and even if it's just following a recipe and baking some cookies and just giving them to your neighbor, and it doesn't have to be a Muslim neighbor. It's just, the people that are around you, just pass dishes back and forth. And that first builds a bond between you and your neighbors. And that's something prophetic. That's something the Prophet ﷺ encouraged and told us that we should do. And then on top of that,
Yeah.
it brightens your day and it brightens someone else's day. And that's something that any high schooler or any kid at home can do. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be like an initiative, like you said, right? Through a very organized, effort. These small things go a long way, and you can even make a list and say, hey, I have these 10 friends. Every week I'm going to reach out to one and say, what do you need, right? It doesn't even have to be like, oh my God, I have to reach out to 50 friends a day. And now I'm like, all my friends want something, right? So just a little bit at a time. And so I was involved in like the Muslims for Bernie effort. It was a national program done by the campaign. And one of the things, and I was also involved in a few other things with the campaign, but one of the things that we started doing was doing virtual phone banks. And so we would get together and, you'd have to find a place that would be, good Wi-Fi, because we were using like a robo-dialer software, and like, a place that would be quiet, had enough space to spread out, things like that. Which came with its own challenges. But then when we started doing virtual phone banks we would just meet up on Google Hangouts, share our screens, and then just everybody from their comfort of their home. And it was interesting because I shared it, like, we had, there's, platform where we can create our events. And I shared it with, my volunteers and stuff like that. But then I had random people from other states join my event. Like they just logged in on Google Hangouts, and it was just so cool. And in some ways I got to meet, it was a blessing in disguise, because I got to meet these people from across the country outside of the people that I had already chatted with and volunteered with. There was like an older woman in California who joined us, and I was like, hey, I've never met you, but let's do this together. A guy and his mother who joined from elsewhere, and people from just all over. So it's a cool way to even connect with people all over within the country and outside that are uniting for a common cause. So that's one of the things that I've experienced, kind of a bright side of things.
I wanted to mention something based on what Faizan and you're saying about like interacting with like just people in general. If we all reflect back on what happened to us during Hurricane Harvey, all of us were kind of in the same predicament. We were all on lockdown. We couldn't go anywhere. Like physically, we couldn't go anywhere. Some neighborhoods were islands to the point there was no need for an essential run, Some people were forced to stay at homes, and talking to some of the youth and just asking like, what did they do compared to now? It's like, it's crazy because we have all this freedom still. Hurricane Harvey put us in such a predicament. Again, there's similar situations and things that are in relation with Hurricane Harvey, but the point is that it was a community. Like Faizan was talking about, like how like his neighbors cooked one dish, and then going back and forth. This is the perfect time to do that with your neighbors, because at the end of the day, it's about building your community, and that's what we did during Harvey. There was no race, there was no gender, there was no you were Republican, you were Democrat. I know for a fact that everybody in their own neighborhoods banded together and came together and helped one another. And that's the most important thing that I would encourage all the youth to do, is think in that aspect. We're still lucky to go on little essential runs. We're not practicing social distancing as we should. We're breaking rules here and there by going to our parents' house, by going to our cousin's house. We're still blessed to be in a predicament that we are, but at the same time, we're not taking full advantage of the things we could be doing. And that's reaching out to people that you had an issue with. That's, trying something new, or, cleaning out your closet and finding all those clothes you don't even wear and donating them to Salvation Army or Anissa or all these different organizations that are doing. And I think that's the most beneficial thing we can do while remaining in this lockdown, is just pick up positive and, productive habits. Because again, I always will look at the time at Hurricane Harvey. It really banded our city together, but at the same time, I'm going to look at like, I could have, because after Hurricane Harvey was over, I look back and I'm like, wow, like subhanAllah, this organization stood up, this person stood up, this organization decided to do this, this business decided to donate this. Like, it's a matter of like, we've kind of been through this cycle, and it's like, let's not make the same regrets at the end of the day, you know. And I thought it was really beautiful that you guys are sharing that, what you guys are doing with y'all's neighbors, because at the end of the day, you know, besides our family being there for one another, our neighbors are also going to be there no matter what, because we come back home. We are home, you know, and we have no place else to go but home. And left or right, our neighbors are going to be the ones that look for help or any of that sort. So again, I'm going to continue to always encourage so many different people. First, and you know, get to know your neighbor. Send out a text message to somebody you had an issue with. You know, resolve your issues. You know, we don't know how life is going to play out in the next month or 2 months, right?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. Can I jump in? I'm
Yeah,
just gonna
go for
go
it.
off of what Zain said. That is so true. Reaching out to somebody that you may have had an issue with, because this is a time, you know, we just went through the 15th of Shaban, where, you know, that's the day where you're supposed to, Allah forgives you if you don't have any ill will in your heart towards anyone. And that was the day, like that day, I reflected on it a lot. And this is the, like, Allah has put us in a situation we can either look at the negative or look at the positive. And that was a day that I realized that everybody has people that they might not get along with. And I did reach out to that person. And since then, I felt so much better. And this is something that we can all do, because even as teenagers, as youth, we have issues with some of our friends, with our cousins, or with anybody, with whoever you may have an issue with. Maybe this is the time to just reach out and say, how are you doing? Or just doing something small for them. Like he said, about reaching out to your neighbors. Maybe you can't see them physically, but just drop off that box of cookies or something. Because I don't know, my husband was telling me that, oh, people don't want to touch your food right now. We're sharing food. What if they're scared of COVID-19 or something? So I was like, what? No, this is the perfect time. And he's like, no, be careful, because Ramadan is coming up. And during Ramadan, a lot of families, like we give food to our neighbors. We give iftar to our neighbors. But, you know, I know some of the neighbors that will be okay with it. And I know some of the neighbors that aren't going to be okay with it. So that's why I try to reach out to them and check up on them, but know the neighbors that you can give food to, because we don't want you to scare anybody off. And also, I did mention this, but I did mention this, that I'm very active with Lamar Consolidated ISD, and there's this organization called Lunches of Love. So this is something that you can sit down literally from your couch while you're bored. And if you're tired of your phone and Instagram and Twitter or whatever, you can sit there and just maybe get some brown bag lunch bags, and write inspirational notes on them, decorate them, make them look pretty. And you know what? You do 50 of those and you drop them off at Lunches of Love. They will give you 3 hours of community service towards your high school volunteer hours. So that's what my son has been doing. I told him he'll get volunteer hours. I wish he would do it on his own, but whatever. It is what it is. But he's done almost 200 bags, and just decorating them, writing inspirational notes. You may be wondering, what is this for? Well, Lunches of Love is an amazing organization here in LCISD that provides lunches to people, children or students that are on the free lunch program. And Monday through Friday, those children get breakfast and lunch at school. But on the weekends, they do not have food. A lot of them, their parents can't afford to feed them breakfast or lunch. And this organization in Rosenberg, Texas, they on Thursdays, they would deliver them to the schools for those kids anonymously. The kids knew who they were. They would pick up their brown bag lunches. They would fill them with non-perishable items like, macaroni cups, whatever. They would fill up those brown bag lunches for those kids. But right now, since it's not, they're not in school on the weekends, what they're doing is they're dropping them off at those apartment complexes. And they need those bags, because they do not ever give a lunch without a decorated bag. And that's what's so beautiful about it, because these kids, they're young kids, most of them, a lot of them are, and they read these inspirational notes. They read these notes of love and just guidance, or decorate. They see the hearts, they see the flowers on that brown bag. They get uplifted, they get happy. We may think it's something so small. As high schoolers, we might think, oh, it's not that big a deal. But those little kids, those elementary schoolers, I've been on some of their delivery runs. It's amazing how good they feel. And just writing a note that we love you, you're loved, or anything, just you can do whatever you want to do, or you can be the best. Just little notes like that boosts their confidence, boosts their well-being. And it's just such an easy thing to do from your couch. If you want to get rid of your social media, or you don't want to be on social media, you don't want to sit there and draw on those bags, and know those 50 bags will get you 3 hours of community service, and you will be uplifting a child. So it's an amazing organization. You could go to www.lunchesoflove.net, but I'm sure Minaret Foundation will put it out there too. But since 2016, when I moved here actually in 2014, but I found out about that through my school district, through my kids' school district, and I love that organization. It's an amazing, because I'm all about, universal lunches for everyone, regardless of if anybody knows me, I'm all about that. So that's why this organization is doing amazing work. And as youth, you can just sit there and draw and color, and drawing and coloring and decorating bags helps you relieve some anxiety, helps you relieve some of your stress too, So
I think the important thing to know about, just like to some people that might be really lame, but it's completely out of your normal daily activity that you're doing while in quarantine. You wake up around noon, you eat breakfast, and then you get on your phone, you get on your social media, you engage with your friends, you get on TV, you play your video game. It's out of the norm. It's out of the norm for you to draw something on a lunch bag. But it's productive, and it's different, and it's gonna impact somebody. That's the most thing to look at, is that you're doing something differently rather than just sitting your butt at home and doing nothing at all, right? And just one other perspective that I just want to shed light on is that, especially to the youth, again, we're in quarantine, we're in lockdown, we can't go see our friends, we can't go to these events. Like, one thing as Muslims we need to adhere to, and especially keep in mind, is that imagine all those other people across the world, in Syria and Palestine, and like Israel just shut down testing at one of their centers in Gaza, and it broke my heart. Like, that's just for people to see if they even have COVID-19. Imagine what they are doing while in lockdown. Their lockdown has been a reality for 24/7, 7 days out of the week, and 12 months out of the year. That's something we need to consistently remind one another, especially for the younger generation, is that we're lucky regardless of whatever situation we get put in. Because over there on the other side of the world, they still have it bad, no matter what. And if we continue to remind ourselves how blessed we are, even in the comfort of our homes. Faizan just said that his brother's in New York. New York living situations are not the best. I have a cousin in Jackson Heights in Queens. They live in a really tiny apartment, but it's 7 family members. The amount of movement and the amount of different things they can do within their apartment is nothing compared to what we get to do in the comfort of our homes. I have a room, mashallah. I have an office I get to go to. If I get bored, I can go to my backyard. All around us, especially all around us, we need to remind ourselves that we're so blessed, no matter what predicament we are going to get in the next few days, or it's just insane. And I think it's just always important to remind each other of our blessings, because that's how we're going to make it, and that's how we're going to make sure to be grateful to it when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, it's all about perspective, Zain. It's all about perspective, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, these are really great reminders. I mean, this isn't meant to be like a guilt trip session, or it's not meant to be like a session that makes you feel bad about your privilege, but it's more just to kind of put things in perspective and say there's no matter what struggle we're going through, it everybody's struggles are valid. Everybody's struggles have merit, but it is something to think about. I mean, my sister lives in California, and she came back, and it's a different lifestyle when you're living in a very small place and small quarters. It's cool to kind of think about what's available to you, and think about the resources that you have in a different way. Like Zain said, maybe you hadn't thought about cleaning out your closet, and maybe donating a little bit more this time around. I don't know if Goodwill, honestly, I don't even know if Goodwill stores are open. Probably not. And so maybe not, but a lot
of containers. They have containers. I'm sure you can put them in.
Okay. Yeah. So, but what I meant was like for people to shop at, right? Okay. So they probably have some alternative sort of like, donation program, but not everybody can have access to they probably just don't have as many opportunities to get donations. So now, you know, that might be just another way for you to give back just a little bit more, because they're probably not getting as many donations as they are usually do. And people rely on that. So those types of little things can go a long way.
Yeah, so just like what Zain, oh, sorry, go ahead, Zain.
I'm just saying, for anybody that's watching, like, I'm gonna do this myself. I encourage Sabina, Faizan, and Amina to do this as well. Like, let's just go into our closets and like find the clothes that we don't wear, the shoes that we don't wear, and then just donate them to an organization that's local. That is the easiest thing to do even right now, right? So I'm encouraging all the kids that are watching and that will watch. It's just, there's clothes that you've outgrown, but there's so many unfortunate people. There's refugees that are living in Houston that could use those clothes that are, it's like Christmas to them, you know, or Eid, you know, in our perspective, to get, you know, a
Gently
new set
used.
of clothes.
Gently used.
Gently used, of course,
Yeah.
of course, of
And
course.
one of the other things I wanted to mention is there are actually a lot of organizations that could probably use your help in terms of, and this is something I wanted to talk to you guys about a little bit, is how getting the word out about the initiatives, given that we're in a new sort of operating model, operating remotely and things like that, right? So what are the you know, ways you are getting the word out about your events? And then also what I wanted to chat about a little bit is the different sources of where you could find, anyone at home can find information beyond just Googling. Sometimes it's like, what do I even Google, right? So one of the things to think about is like, okay, making a list, and one suggestion I have is like, okay, making a list of maybe 3 causes that you are passionate about, and then searching those, and then even just reaching out to those organizations, even if they don't have a volunteer opportunity posted. I can almost guarantee you they probably need some help in some way or another, right? Being involved in the community and nonprofit space for a long time, just as a volunteer, like, and as a leader, I've noticed that there's always something for somebody to do. There's always needs. So maybe even reaching out and sending a note. You don't even have to send like 50 organizations an email. Send like one organization a Facebook message a day or something, saying, hey, do you guys need any help with something? And it can be playing to your strengths, right? So if they need help making a flyer for an event they're having, they need help setting up figuring out their, like, how to use Google Hangouts or Zoom, right? Can you do a Zoom tutorial for our like volunteers or our leaders? They're not used to using Zoom. Can you teach them how to do it? And it's like, yeah, sure, I can do that from my home. I'll like FaceTime you or WhatsApp video chat you. I'll teach you how to do it, right? Little things that we think is like, oh my gosh, I can't add any value. I don't know how to do anything. I'm not trained. I've never done this before. Little things like that can go a long way. I mean, if you know how to use Canva, you can make a digital poster for any organization. And a lot of people know how to use Canva, right? A lot of people don't even know what Canva is, but if you can create a Canva account and make that is, Canva is awesome and it's free. And so a lot of resources are at our fingertips. We just don't even realize what ways we can contribute. And it can be in ways that that play to your strengths. Maybe you're not good with conversation and you're whatever it is, right? You have a young sibling that's always loud, so you can't do video chats with somebody, but you can make a video. You can do a video montage, right? Or whatever it is. So so those are some of the things that I wanted to kind of chat with you guys a little bit about, is what's some help that your organization needs on the back end, right? Are there opportunities here and there where you can, organizations that you know of that need help on the back end, but just something different to think about?
From like, just speaking on behalf of Miss, again, for us, we're just an interscholastic tournament that is hosting this competition for all these high school students, right? Alhamdulillah, we hit up to over 800 students registered this year that were wanting to compete in all these 45 competitions. Our goal for the back end is to pretty much, we want to be a service to other organizations, because we're an event-based organization, right? Anissa is an actual organization that's doing such great good. Minaret Foundation, what you did with Bernie Sanders campaign, all these different organizations that are actually doing something. For us, we can only act as a liaison with our audience. So for us, again, it's about, we have the people, what can we get our people to do for you guys? And of course, to make sure that we connect our community together. One thing that I do want to say is that after this call is to be able to release all these organizations that are doing something to make a difference in their community.
Yeah, and I do believe that Minaret Foundation, that's what we're here for. We are going to be making a list of consolidating. I had talked to Sharik about this, and Sharik had mentioned it, that we will be consolidating some of the ideas that we talked about today, and different organizations and different projects that the youth can get involved in. So if you want to get involved in the organizational, like with nonprofits, we will, Minaret, that's what Minaret's for. Minaret is to push out and give ideas and to just uplift this community and to make sure that we have all the resources, inshallah. So also going back on what y'all were saying about just things that you can do in the home, like he was talking about cleaning out your closet, right? There might be some youth that like scrapbooking. I don't know, they're like digital scrapbooking. I know a lot, my daughter does, she's 12 and she loves doing this stuff for girls or guys that like doing this, going through all your pictures, going through your albums, fixing everything right now. This is a perfect time to start organizing your life, like organizing your closet, organizing your pictures, your baby books, or whatever you want to do. This is a time. My daughter, she's 12 and she's been doing that for the past week, and she's been really occupied and she loves it. So if you like doing that kind of stuff, find what you love doing and play to that strength. Just as Savina was saying, that's just an idea for people that like doing that. But
sorry, one thing that you're talking about, you're talking about like how your daughter loves to do scrapbooking and stuff. Again, for us to fall into our passions while we're being in quarantine is such a great idea to do, because our passion will only get better because we're practicing on it, whether it's scrapbooking or playing basketball or even playing Call of Duty. They're practicing on their passion, right? The biggest thing for me, and the biggest struggle for me personally that I've been wanting to get better at, is reading my 5 salahs and picking up the Quran. I've been beating myself up for the past few days is because I don't understand why salah should be this hard for me. It's like I'm inside my home. I'm blessed enough to work remotely. I'm minutes away from I'm seconds away from going downstairs and getting food. The restrooms here, I should have no excuse when it comes to bettering myself as a Muslim, but also the knowledge that we have. I know that so many students and high school students are just like tired of these webinars. They're tired of seeing what, let's go on this and, what's beneficial. It's true, because all of us had to just jump onto the digital thing, but it's like, okay, what about the basic 5 things that we were taught, our 5 pillars for Islam, right? Of course we can't do the Hajj, and but we can still perform zakat, we can still pray 5 times a day, we can, these things that, and I'm having to remind myself, like, Zain, why didn't you pray Isha? Because I keep telling myself I'll pray later because I have so much time, but at the end of it, I don't have time. Time's running out at the very end of the day, because who knows, right?
And that reminds what you said. Yeah. I don't have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sabina.
No. Go ahead.
So no, what he said, I don't have time. That just, honestly, it just clicked in my head right now. 2 weeks ago, Imam Mahad in our Subha class was, he was doing the tafsir of Surah Al-Asr, and that's exactly, Surah Al-Asr talks about, we are humans and we are all at loss, right, in time. So it's just a beautiful reminder that we don't have the time. The only time we have is to do good. And how are we going to make ourselves better? And that's what Allah is reminding us in this surah. Like, the only people that are not at loss with time are the people that remind us to do good, to remind us to give sadaqah, and the ones that bring us to the truth. And I'm sure Faizan could talk more about what he had just mentioned about time, but that just literally popped up in my head right when he mentioned time. And this is a time that Allah has given us that we need to focus on bringing ourselves closer to him and bring ourselves closer to, I know it may be difficult where it sounds preachy, but also bring yourself closer to your family. Like, I don't think I've played these many board games with my kids in I don't know how many years. Like, I've been playing Monopoly Go with my 14-year-old every 2 minutes. I'm bored. Can I play Monopoly Go? Let's play. So maybe, I mean, he's a ninth grader and he's a high schooler. So, I mean, if he wants to play Monopoly Go with his mom, I mean, maybe you could do that too. Have some connection time with your siblings or your parents. And it could be something as simple as playing Taboo or Categories, or these are just some games I love. But Monopoly Go is something that he loves. These are things that you don't have to do online because you might be tired of your phone. And, we don't want everybody to be addicted to their phones or their technology. But these are things that youth are doing. So just find what you like. Find that board game that you just loved and play it maybe, because it's something you're not at loss in time with that. You're spending time, that's valuable time that you're spending with your sibling or your spouse or your parents, and do something with them, because this is a time for us to get closer as families. And as if you don't like, even your friends, if you want to play a game with them online, that's something you can get closer to them. But just little things that we can do. We do not want to waste our time. We do want to make sure that every single minute of our day is it's useful. And it can be useful by just sitting with your little sister and reading her a bedtime story. I know that sounds boring to everybody, but I'm just telling you, like, what I've been encouraging my kids to do, and they've been doing it. It seems cheesy, but they have actually been bonding a little better. They fight, but then they bond too. So these are things that we need to start implementing. Ramadan is coming up. You can make your home into your masjid, because I know a lot of the youth, my son is so like upset about not being able to go to the masjid and play basketball. So I'm like, make the home a masjid. Play basketball outside with your siblings. I know it's not as fun, but we have to look at the positive. There's lots of negative, but we can look at the positive if we choose to as well. Make your home and to make a space for your family where you can pray Tarawih together, or pray Salah together, just as what Zain was saying, focusing on our Salah, focusing on these things that we have been probably neglecting, and that things that we were so always running around doing so many things. We were so caught up in life. Right now, Allah is telling us we can slow down. We can slow down and enjoy little things that they probably enjoyed in the 90s when we used to play games and not have, electronics and stuff like this.
Right. No, I think these are really good points. I mean, like, giving back and taking a meaningful part in society, or in your, like Faizan said, right? Sphere of influence doesn't have to be like, oh, let me just create this huge initiative and be, super busy all the time. It can just be small things that you're doing with your family and friends. Because if your friend, like with COVID-19, I mean, that's going to impact literally everybody. It's just a matter of time, right? SubhanAllah, one of my volunteers that I've worked with in New Jersey, a fellow volunteer, her dad passed away, unfortunately, from coronavirus yesterday. And it's like, ultimately, it's one of those things where it's going to impact everybody at some point. And so they may not be comfortable, even if you reach out to them and say, oh, they may not be ready to talk about it or whatever, but maybe they'd be willing to play like a half-hour game to get their mind off of things, or that may be therapeutic for them, right? So you could do that as a way of saying, hey, like, I know there's a lot on your mind. I know we've always done this. We haven't done it in a long time. Do you want to do that, right? And then I would be remiss to talk about this without kind of talking about our parents, right? I know I don't want this to become another Be Good to Your Parents lecture, but one of those things where maybe you can just ask your parents, hey, is there a task that you've been meaning to do for a long time that you haven't done? Maybe I can help you out with that. Or is there something that you need me to order for you, like air filters for the AC from Home Depot, right? Maybe your parents get that and didn't get a chance to. You can order online from Home Depot, right? Little things like that to help with, it doesn't have to be like, okay, all the time doing like every single little thing, but it can just be one thing here or there that may make their lives a little bit easier, that you probably didn't think about, right? And they didn't even know, like, oh, I didn't realize you could order things online from Home Depot, right? So things that, like I said, it just goes back to using your knowledge and what's at your fingertips and not realizing that can add value, right? Maybe even like if you have relatives or neighbors that are elderly that don't know how to order things, you can help them log in and be like, oh, I can do it for you. You can just pay me back or whatever, right? That way you don't even have to go over to their place. But little things that are within your sphere of influence when it comes to your personal relationships, like we were talking about, right? That you probably didn't think about and they probably didn't think about. And so when we're talking about future opportunities, I did want to talk about, you know, there are some, just when it comes to civic engagement, as this is one of the goals for Minaret Foundation and some of the things that we're talking about today, we talked a lot about nonprofits and charities and giving back. But with all this craziness, elections are still happening. Runoffs are going to happen for a lot of the local elections in July. So candidates are still running their platforms, and there are a lot of candidates that still need help with getting the word out about why they are fit to govern our state or our city or whatever, that need help in their runoff elections. So if you're looking at, if that's something that you're excited about, they need all the help that they can get, because a lot of ways that they get the word out about things are in-person events. So if you're interested in that, I don't want to mention any names or anything like that on the podcast, or on the webcast today, but you know, you can feel free to reach out to me personally, and I can give you the names of candidates that I think could use your help, and they need help, like I said, in so many different ways. So I think that kind of we're reaching the end of our time, Zane, is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. We just hit the hour mark, but if there's other questions or something like that, anybody wants to add?
Yeah, so what I want to do is kind of leave it with a couple closing remarks from each of you guys, and any just closing thoughts that might have been on your mind for the past couple minutes that we haven't, or past hour that we haven't gotten a chance to touch base on, and kind of leave it up to you guys to share what your closing remarks are, and also maybe just one thing that you think would, maybe just like if you were to say, okay, this is one thing that I think would, your personal goal is for your self-care, and also for reaching out to the community, that's something different. Maybe you could share that.
So but going off of the whole discussion, the thing that I wanted to close on, there's 2 points that I wanted to mention. First, and Sabina, you mentioned this as well, is realize that you first, and this is directly to the youth, realize that you don't have to be part of a huge organization or have a name attached to you to make a difference. Because look, even myself, like I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I didn't know how I wanted to get into what I wanted to get to, but I knew that I wanted to help. And I knew that I wanted to do something for those around me. And it started off small. It started off something as simple as making a flyer. And I've been doing it for 15 years now, making flyers, but it started off like that. And eventually it led me down a path where I got to where I am today, alhamdulillah. And that also comes with talking to the people that have gone through this and have wanted to make a difference and have sort of done that. And that's what this panel is all about. And the second thing that I wanted to mention is, and it was mentioned by I think everyone, is realize that this whole pandemic has given us a lot of time. And with that time, there is a huge opportunity to, one, come closer to Allah and take care of yourself. Because I've always told myself that, okay, I'm doing this thing for the community, I'm doing that thing for the community, I'm busy with this, I'm busy with work. And those were all my excuses of why I was not reading my Quran, of why I wasn't memorizing, why I wasn't going back and connecting with Allah. Allah took all of that away. And now I don't have an excuse. If Allah asks me, it's like, what's your excuse now for not connecting with me? I can't say anything. So this is an opportunity to come closer to Allah, to connect with Allah. And even if it's as simple as maybe it's hard for you to pray, and that's okay. Prayer is not easy. It's hard for you to pray, that's fine. But just talking to Allah and having a conversation in your heart, in your mind, and just letting out your feelings to Allah, even if it's something as simple as that. And second is taking care of yourself. These same excuses about being involved in the community and doing this and doing that were the same reasons that I had for not taking care of myself. And I don't have that excuse now. And now is an opportunity for me to do that for myself as well. And I'd encourage everyone that's listening to take care of yourself, take some time to connect with Allah. And obviously don't forget those that are around you, especially your neighbors, because they have the most right over you.
Yeah.
Subhan.
Thank you for mentioning those, Faizan, and that was one reason why I wanted to touch on what are your one personal goal that you have as well, because we and like I said, it can be either self-care or something else that you want to improve, just because burnout is a real thing, and neglecting yourself is a real thing, and I recognize that there's going to be a wide spectrum of people that are going to be either listening to this or maybe listening to a recording or whatever. Some of us need to hear that self-care is important, and some of us need to hear that about learning about opportunities, right? And so that's not an easy thing to always share with everyone and also remind yourself to do. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's I would 100% on board with you there. Amna, do you want to share personal goal for yourself and closing remarks?
Yes, subhanAllah, exactly what Brother Faizan said. It was amazing. Yes, we all did talk about, Zain and Brother Faizan talked about your 5 daily prayers. It's very difficult. I want all of y'all to know that it's not just a difficulty for youth. It's difficulty for middle age. Like I'm in my 30s, and it's difficult for me at times to pray on time, my 5 daily prayers. It's difficult. And that's what I've been trying to focus on. That was my goal this time, during this pandemic. Let me focus on praying on time. But I know that a lot of times, a lot of people they're not praying any of their 5 daily prayers. It's really difficult for some people. So what I want to say is just, as therapists, we try to focus on consistency and gradual change, right? So if you want to become closer to Allah and you do want to, bring that salah back into your life, you don't have to. I know it sounds really difficult if you haven't prayed 5 daily prayers every day. It's difficult to say, oh my God, I got to pray 5 times a day. That's difficult sometimes. So maybe it's just pick one salah in the day that you're going to focus and you're going to pray it on time. That is one thing. When I started praying 5 times daily, that's what I did. And I started focusing on one prayer at a time because it's very difficult. It's difficult for me as a middle-aged woman, it's very difficult. So just if you want to start, if that's a goal that you have, my goal right now is to pray my 5 daily prayers on time, like when the adhan goes off. But it's been difficult for me. But if it's difficult for you to even pray one, just focus on that one. Pick one salah that that may come easy to you, maybe like Dhuhr or Maghrib, and make sure you do it in the best way possible, because that you will feel it in your heart. And inshallah, gradually you'll start implementing more daily prayers in your life, and eventually you'll get to the 5 daily prayers, because that's slowly how I did it for myself, and it worked, alhamdulillah, because Allah promises if you crawl towards him, he will walk towards you. If you walk towards him, he will run towards you. So these are small little things that like she was saying, this is something that I'm trying to focus on, is trying to pray my salah on time. Trying to wake up for Fajr, maybe not 5 or 10 minutes before it's done with prayer time. I'm trying to run. So those are things that I'm trying to focus on. But some people are not at that point where they're not at that point. So focusing on that one daily prayer that you can make the best possible and talk to Allah, because Allah is the most merciful. He is the abundantly merciful, the continually merciful. If you aren't praying those 5 daily prayers, don't be like, oh my God, you can put yourself in a mindset like, oh my God, I am going to hell. Allah's never going to be pleased with me if I just pray one. But if you start with that one will become 2, that 2 will become 3, that 3 will become 4, and then 5, and then you'll get to that point, and Allah is so merciful. He will make it happen for you, because you just have to want it in your heart even a little. And if you want, Allah knows when you want that in your heart. And I'm just sharing this right now because this was something that I've gone through, and just I want to leave you all with, I don't want you to feel like it's an all or nothing. It really is not an all or nothing. Like Brother Faizan said, that you don't have to be a part of this organization, a huge organization. Like when I moved here, I didn't know anyone. This is 2014. I went to the masjid. I'm like, what can I do? You know, like, give me something to do. And it was making little gift bags or little gift boxes for the interfaith team. And that's all I really did. It was something small, but it, like right now, like he had said, he started making flyers. It can, those small things, they impacted a greater, they impact greatly. And you will, like now 5-6 years down the road, we're here, we're talking as leaders in the community, alhamdulillah. And it doesn't have to be something, you have to go through gradual and consistent volunteering, gradual and consistent, just doing the little that you can do. And then eventually, yeah, you can probably work with an organization, a nonprofit, do what you want to do, just like all of us are. But you don't have, you always start off with this, those small things go a long way. And that's where I want you to focus. Focus on the small things. If you can't focus on something nonprofit, focus on your family. Play that board game with your mom. Reach out to those friends that you haven't reached out. Forgive that person that hurt you, because this is the time to do it. Ramadan is coming, and Shaitan is going to be locked away, inshallah. And this is the time for us to cleanse our hearts, to cleanse, to become closer to Allah. And time is fleeting. So we're not going to get our time back. This is it's the most valuable thing we have, more than money, more than anything else. Time is the most valuable thing that we have.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing those thoughts, Amna. So we're going to close with Zain. Zain, any closing?
I'm going to keep it very short. I just want to first say thank you to Amna and Faizan and yourself, Sabina. Faizan, you especially, because just hearing you talk about your 2 simple points, I'm listening with all ears, and inshallah, that's something that I can apply to myself, because as I mentioned, you both are mentors to me. And for the ones that are listening, honestly, like, just get out and do something different that you've been doing since quarantine. Anything at this point that can impact somebody is all that really matters. Whether it's benefiting yourself, self-care, doing something for your neighbor, or writing a letter, or making a video, just do something, you know, something completely different that you haven't done since school was let out. And, you know, when all of this is over, and 20 years pass by, you're gonna look back, and you're gonna look back, and so is the world, and so is your friends, and so is your family, and you know, you did something. You know, whether it's drawing colors on paper bags or donating whatever is left in your closet, you did something during the time when the world was needed the most.
Thank you, Zain. Yeah, so I think there's, like we talked about all throughout today's session, is there's unlimited numbers of things that we can do that are different, that are out of the ordinary, that are new opportunities for us, that ironically are presented to us not just in our local community, but also the global community. And we can participate in things that we usually would not be able to. There's actually this thing, I mean, there's all these events are happening virtually now, right? So there's ways to get involved in other things that you may not have had the money to do, to travel and go to a conference or go to a hackathon or something. You can actually do those online now, right? So it's actually, the doors are even wider for us to be involved in so many different things and help even more people. And so it's great to see that our sphere of influence, places where we can make a difference, are not limited just because we're limited to our home. And so one of, I guess, my personal goal that I wanted to share is that may be beneficial, is just one of those things where I want to reduce, you know, I definitely want to, you know, be better about my prayers, but reduce my negative habits, right? Because your negative habits reducing those makes space for good habits. So a lot of times we talk about, when it comes to Ramadan coming up and when it comes to bettering ourselves, what are we going to do better? But what are the bad habits that we're going to stop doing? So I want to make more headspace for good thoughts and good habits, rather than allowing my bad habits to continue. So And my closing remarks that I did want to share are the hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, take care of 5 before 5. So your youth before your old age, your health before sickness, your wellness before poverty, your wealth before poverty, your free time before your preoccupation, and your life before death. So this has been one of my guiding principles, and I'm hoping that this maybe inspire some of y'all. But so yeah, with that, we wanted to close off. Thank you guys so much
Can
for.
Can I say one thing real quick? Just very short.
Sure. Yeah.
So I know this was titled Class of COVID 2019, and I just wanted to say to the students that were in high school and that were graduating, and they had plans, they had stuff that they were going to do, they were going to graduate, they were going to walk. It sucks. Like, it sucks that this was taken away from you. And I know it hurts that it's taken away from you. And guess what? It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be frustrated about that. And it's okay to be upset about that. But know, and I've experienced this in my life, that any time that Allah takes something away from you and you're patient, Allah will replace it with something better. I know it's hard. I know it's tough. And I know it hurts because you wanted to walk. You wanted to graduate. You wanted to see your friends. And this is the time for it, especially next month when we were supposed to have graduations. Know that Allah knows your pain, and know that Allah will take care of you as He's taken care of you before. If you bear through this patiently and ask Allah to help you through this calamity and help you through this difficulty, because it's hard for you. And we know it's hard for you. And it's okay to feel sad and upset about it. Ask Allah, and inshallah, He will replace it with something better. And Allah will take care of you. This reminds me of a quote by Ibn Qayyim where he said, if Allah lifted the veil and allowed us to see the reasons why He makes the decisions for us in our life, I'm paraphrasing, but if He allowed us to see the reasons why He makes the decisions for us in our life, our heart would melt out of gratitude and love for Allah, because every single decision that Allah makes for us is in our best interest, even if we don't understand it in the moment. And know that the pain that you're feeling, know that the hurt that you're feeling because of what you're missing and because of the friends that you don't see, Allah knows your pain. And even if you forget that pain, turn to Allah and make dua, because Allah does not forget your pain and He will grant your dua, inshallah. That's all I want to say.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, everything that we feel is valid. And that's just because your struggles aren't as big as somebody else's, or they're different from somebody else's, doesn't mean that we can belittle them, that you can push those aside. You should recognize them, feel them, and process them as you need. So it's okay to feel, like Fizan said, right? It's okay to feel what you feel right now.
And if you need anyone, if you're struggling through this time, please know that there's professionals out there that want to help. We'll put out those resources too for Minaret Foundation. There's telecounseling, teletherapy for people that every counselors are doing right now. So please know that if you are struggling through something and you can't go through it by yourself and you're not able to get out of that rut, there are people out there. There are professionals out there that want to help you. And just going back on what Brother Faizan said, this is a very difficult time for our seniors. I know it is. And inshallah, they said in Fort Bend County that they will hopefully push the graduations till July. And inshallah, maybe you can walk with your friends in July. But just as he said, just know that Allah, there's always a plan, right?
Absolutely. Okay, with that, we're going to close. So stay in touch with Minaret Foundation by following them on Facebook and Instagram. If you're interested in learning about more projects, you can go to minaretfoundation.com, and we will share. So I think we're going to share some of the resources that we shared today, specific opportunities, and encourage you to think outside of the box of your own home. Have a good night, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Y'all too.
All right.
It was awesome talking to y'all.
Awesome. Thank you guys.